Okay, the broadcast has begun.
Good. Welcome everybody to the second meeting of the Public Safety Committee for San Clemente. I'd like to call to order, and we have a Pledge of Allegiance that we will do. We've got a flag up here with the city seal. If you stand, join with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, let's do the roll call. Adam, if you would.
Okay. Chairman Bercuda?
Here.
Vice Chair Joe Janis?
Here.
Committee Member Rick Leffler?
Here.
Committee Member Gary Walsh?
Here.
Committee Member Lieutenant Ed Manhart, I know is not present. That is the roll call.
Thank you. Special orders of business, special presentations. I have an introductory presentation by the City Fire Chief, Capobianco. Good to see you and welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
So Adam, you had what I've done and what I've been asked to do today is just a brief introduction about who I am, why I'm here speaking in front of you, and how I can be a resource to you and your committee as we move forward. I've put together a 7 or 8 slide PowerPoint just to kind of show at a very high level how Orange County Fire provides service to the city of San Clemente. At the end, if you have additional questions, I'll be available. And then I think more importantly, what I really wanted to get out of this, and I can ask Adam after the meeting to please provide my contact information to you as a committee. And as we move forward, if you have additional questions or would like some more information on something, I'm always available for you. So I just wanted you would at least see a face behind the name and be accessible for you as we move forward through this.
Super.
Let's see if we can get that PowerPoint going. Perfect. So once again, this is just a very high level. I've tried to make it fairly quick to kind of show how we're organized within the city of San Clemente and how San Clemente falls into our larger response as a regional organization, a regional response. As we pull our resources together to provide the city of San Clemente the best service we can. Next slide, please. So all in all, Orange County Fire serves just under 600 square miles, just under 2 million people. And the important thing is we have 24 jurisdictional boundaries. We provide for 23 partner cities, of which San Clemente is one of them. And then we also have the unincorporated areas of Orange County. State responsibility lands, like you see in the open space back behind San Clemente, and then John Wayne Airport we have a contract with. The way that we're set up, our governing board, our board of directors has 25 members on it, 1 from each partnering city. San Clemente has 1 person voting member on our board, which is Councilmember Ward. And then we have 2 from the County of Orange, which makes a total of 25. They meet once a month to give us policy and direction as far as we move forward. And our fire chief reports directly to that board. Next slide. A little bit about myself, Rob Capobianco, Division 3, and I'll show you kind of what that means. But I have 24 years, all with Orange County. Prior to that, while going through college, I was a volunteer or a paid call firefighter, is what we called them back then. I did that for just under 10 years. So all in all, I've been with Orange County Fire for close to 33, 34 years. I've been a division chief. All of them have been here in Division 3, covering the city of San Clemente for coming up on 3 years now. The way we divide our county up is we've divided it up into 7 different geographical areas. We call it division. Like I said, I'm Division 3. Each division has 1 to 2 battalions in it, and it's purely for the span of control. I cover Battalion 6 and Battalion 7, and what's important to you is you stand in Battalion 6. Battalion 6 covers the cities of San Clemente, Dana Point, and San Juan Capistrano. We have a battalion chief on 24 hours a day working in Battalion 6. We'll talk a little bit about where they're located. So that battalion chief provides command and control coverage for the city of San Clemente as well. And they're responding out of Doheny Station right there in Dana Point. My schedule, I work Monday through Friday, normal business hours. And then really what my job is to be the liaison between the fire chief and the city of San Clemente, and to be available. You'll see me at a lot of your city council meetings, at meetings like this. I speak with the city manager quite a bit, and then I do my best to communicate with our board director, once again, which is Council Member Ward. So I'm that direct liaison between the fire chief and the city. I also do have a responsibility, which is really the fun part of my job. My biggest thing is often multi-alarm fires, and then wildland fires are some of the bigger stuff that I would respond to. Next slide. So this is basically the Orange County. Each different color represents the 7 divisions that we have. You can see mine is the purple one. I always brag about how I have the most area and work the hardest. They don't always agree with that, but I keep bragging about it. Division 3, you can see Battalion 7 is Santa Margarita, Mission Viejo, and then Battalion 6 is down at the south end. So a lot of the unincorporated areas, it does include Ortega Highway, and then, like I said before, San Juan, Dana Point, and San Clemente. Your 24-hour chief officer is Battalion 6, and that's the person you'll see on the larger incidents. Next slide. Briefly, our organizational chart you see at the top is our fire chief, Brian Fennessy. Our deputy and assistant chief of operations are above me, and so I'm that liaison between that command staff and that executive leadership and the city. Below me, you'll see in my office here. My office is here at Station 58, which is in Ladera Ranch, pretty much in between my 2 battalions. And I have an admin captain, similar to on the sheriff's side, you have the lieutenant, and then you have his admin sergeant that works for him. We have a similar setup to that with my the admin captain that works here. That's Bill Lackey. And then I have an admin assistant, Michelle Snyder, that's in this office as well. And then if you look down, you'll see the 2 different battalions. Our schedule is 24-hour shifts. So that's why we have 3 different shifts, A, B, and C shift, which cover 24 hours, 7 days a week. And you can go next slide. A little bit about our full range of services. This is just the basics, the fire and rescue and EMS that we all know. And then some of the stuff we don't think about as much. Our community risk reduction, whether it's wildland fuel modification inspections, normal business inspections that we do on every 3rd year with all of our businesses, the engine company level inspections. And then we also have construction plan review, which work closely with the city's code or building department as we have a lot of new construction and that type of stuff. Our community outreach, we just have somebody that started yesterday. We have a new person that does all of our community education, whether it's schools. That's the big one, is we really try to hit schools, and they send our safety messages out. So I plan on using him quite a bit throughout the division and getting out there and spreading our word. A little bit of a challenge now with COVID, and that there's not as much face-to-face, so they're trying to get creative on a lot of online and internet type stuff. Next message. So San Clemente itself, I think this information was provided to you. We operate out of 3 city-owned fire stations. Station 50 on Camino de los Mares, kind of behind where the old hospital used to be. Station 59 on Avenida La Plata. It's La Plata and Vista Hermosa. And the other one downtown, Station 60, connected to the Senior Center on Avenida Victoria. Each one of our stations has a single company in it. Station 50 and Station 60 are both paramedic engine companies. And then Station 59 is a paramedic truck company. All three stations have 4 firefighters on per day, and a total of 12 assigned to that station to cover the 3 shifts. The extra piece of equipment you'll see up there on Station 50, we have engine 350. So that's cross-staffed. It's a Type 3 engine, which is why it says 350 on it. Our Type 3 engine is what we use for brush fire response, 4-wheel drive, higher clearance, more geared for going off-road and into the backcountry for the brush fires. So that is cross-staffed with the crew on engine 50. When engine 350 goes out, what we do is we call back firefighters to start covering the Type 1 engine 50 that was there to get that station back up and covered again. Next slide. So I spoke briefly about who Battalion 6 is. Battalion 6 works out of Station 29. It's the station right there in the Doheny Village. Battalion 6, and they would be the 24-hour contact for the city. They would be your initial response for chief officer coverage, and then I would come in behind if something is large enough. They handle most of the coverage, the day-to-day operations of the battalion and of the city, and then I handle a lot of the administration piece for them. And next slide. And that's the last slide. I told you it was short and quick and high level. So, like I said, my goal was to put a face to the name, be able to say hello to you guys. I'm available at any of these meetings if you'd like me to participate. And if you have questions, you can contact me directly and as we go on. With our COVID response right now, our fire stations are closed to the public. We're trying our best to not only keep the public safe, but also keep spread within the fire station. So we're not doing ride-alongs now, but once we get up and running and get past this thing, we'd love to have you guys in as guests, whether it's for a cup of coffee or a ride-along, and we can kind of show you the way we do business. And at that point, that concludes my presentation. Once again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And if you have any questions for me, I will be here. I can also stay on the meeting if you'd like, and I can be available for you at any point.
Thank you, Chief. I sure appreciate your time and the work you've done on the slide presentation and things. Do any of the committee members have any questions?
I've got a couple questions, Chairman Bakuda.
Okay, Committeeman Loeffler.
I'm a 38-year police officer, so all I know about fire engines is when they go by. But so what's the difference between a paramedic engine and a paramedic truck?
So an engine, a fire engine, as we think of, to oversimplify it, it carries hose and it carries water. So let's say we go to a house fire. They're the ones that are going to pull the hose to the front door and wait to go in. Otherwise known as a ladder truck.
Ladder truck.
Ones that carry the big aerial ladder up top. So trucks carry hose and water. Our engines carry some ladders, but to simplify it, the hose guys that go inside the building, and then the truck goes up with their ladders and cut the hole in the roof. The truck also carries extrication equipment, which is the jaws of life. Once again, to oversimplify it, they like to break stuff. So that's why we put them on a truck, so they can break through things.
Okay.
Now, when we say paramedic, here in Orange County, the paramedics, for the most part, other than up in Placentia, are still through the fire department, and then the sheriff have a few on their helicopter. Your paramedic, the definition of a paramedic is 2 paramedics. And how that happens, every agency can do it a little bit different, and we even do it different within our agency. So the way we deliver paramedics, 2 paramedics to a call in San Clemente is we put 2 on each engine and we put 2 on the truck. Since 85% of our calls in the city of San Clemente are medical aids, we've upstaffed all of our units as paramedics, so they will respond. But that's why you'll sometimes see a ladder truck going to a medical aid.
Okay. And are all the firefighters, are they all trained as paramedics?
No. Throughout their career, and as we promote through, most of us nowadays in modern fire department in Orange County at least, most of them have been paramedics at some point in their career or still are. What we guarantee is on those units, at least 2 people are paramedics. There's many days where all 4 of them are. The minimum training for any of our firefighters is EMT.
Okay. And my last question, are you guys, you use an 800 megahertz communication system?
We do. We're on a countywide 800 megahertz, same as with the sheriff, so we can talk with all the different fire agencies, lifeguards, sheriff. It's actually a pretty impressive system that Orange County Communications has put together.
And can your units talk directly to OCSD, or do they have to go through a dispatch?
We can talk directly, so it's the same 800 megahertz, but we don't have all their frequencies. Plus, they are. So what we do is we have a couple of frequencies that we overlap on. 9 Charlie. We have some where we can speak to each other. Their typical ground level deputy does not have all of our frequencies, nor do we have all of theirs, and theirs are encrypted as well. But we have mutual aid frequencies that we all go to and we can talk. Even county parks we talk to a lot for a lot of our backcountry calls. The sheriff, the helicopter we talk to. So really we have the ability to talk really countywide with any of the different disciplines.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome. Chief, interoperability is what we're talking about, being able to pick up the radio and being able to talk to other agencies and disciplines. Pendleton, can you talk to Pendleton on your radios?
So we can. They work on a 900 megahertz frequency, but we carry. They've given us 4 to 5 of their handheld radios, and then they carry some of ours for 800 megahertz. The biggest thing, and so that's for normal calls. Like if we go down there for a medical aid, or they come up here for a fire, we're going to switch over to their radios. Now, the biggest piece of interoperability that is used in the fire service is the VHF. So from southern border all the way up to Oregon, we all carry a Bendix King. It's a VHF radio, of which we go to fires across the state. We go to fires on Pendleton. They come to fires here. We're all on that VHF frequency, 250 frequencies that are pre-programmed into our radios. So we can at any point, like last night, we had a small fire out in the Ortega Highway where we had Riverside County, we had the Forest Service, you had Orange County, all responding on the same frequency, and it's using that VHF. I know the sheriff helicopter uses the VHF. The deputies and most of the other disciplines do not carry that VHF. At least for the fire piece of it, we can all communicate.
Great. Now, I noticed on your map of the county and your division, there, north of the division and north and east, there seemed to be a blank area there. Is that Forest Service area?
Correct. That's all the forest.
Okay, and you help so the Forest Service has the first in on their area, and you assist with them if you have a fire out there.
So for a fire, for a vegetation fire,
right,
will be the first in with their area. Now we actually have, and like Holy Jim Canyon is another good example in the forest. We actually provide EMS and structural fire protection to the forest lands. So a traffic accident on Ortega Highway, we respond to that. We cover each other and have mutual aid agreements and contracts set up. A lot of time the Forest Service, certain times of the year, those stations are unmanned, and so we go out for initial response. As far as us on a battalion chief or on a fire engine, the fire service has done a really good job of dropping boundaries and dropping borders, and we respond whether it's into the city of Laguna, Dana Point, San Clemente, Forest, CAL FIRE. Their initial response, we really don't pay attention a lot to the borders. Even across county and into Pendleton is the same way.
Get the job done.
Right.
One additional question, real quick. I noticed on your flow chart of who's responsible for what is one of your battalion chiefs in this battalion that we live in is vacant.
Correct.
Are you going to fill that, or is that on overtime, or how's that handled?
So those vacancies, as we get retirements or additional promotions, those vacancies will come. We just put out a new flyer today for hiring new battalion chiefs and promotional process. So as those promotions happen, a lot of times those vacancies can be created by going into a staff position like our air operations or investigations and covering some of that. So there's never a day where that position and that piece of equipment is unstaffed. And what we do is on a vacant position, it will get covered with overtime and backfill. And then as time goes on, those vacancies kind of bounce back and forth between the different battalions. I can tell you for certain that Battalion 6, because of the location down here, it's usually fairly highly sought after. So our vacancies don't last a long time. But that position is physically filled every day by a qualified battalion chief.
Okay, that leads me to why is it sought after? Why is this area better than some other area?
Well, I think for a lot of reasons. One, the job diversity that it offers wildland, it offers beach and ocean, it offers freeway, it offers railway, it offers a little bit of everything, and I really like it down here. A lot of us live down this way. For the people that live down in San Diego, it's a much better commute. Plus, it's a beautiful place to work. I really enjoy being down here.
Well, I concur with you, and thank you very much. I appreciate the information. Very
Absolutely.
Good. And I look forward to recommending it maybe to you and to the city council to join our little group.
If I can serve in any other way, I'd be very interested.
Super. Appreciate that. Adam, what's next on the agenda?
Wait, can I ask a question?
All right, go ahead, Gary.
All right. Hey, Chief, when one of your paramedic units, the engine or truck, respond to a hospital as a follow-up, how has that worked out? Do the two paramedics go in the ambulance, or how does that work?
Sure, let me try to explain it for you. And I'll explain it at a lower level. I think you with your fire background probably understand a little bit quicker, but I'll try to be thorough with it. What we've done down in San Clemente, when the hospital closed, Engine 50, we called it a paramedic assessment unit. So we have three different levels of staffing. There's a 3-person BLS, so that's 3 EMTs on it. San Clemente does not have one of those units. San Juan Capistrano would have one. We have a paramedic assessment unit, which was 3-person, and it has 1 paramedic on it. The thought with that is a paramedic assessment, they can get at least a paramedic. It's not a paramedic unit because it doesn't have 2, but we can get paramedic level training and equipment there to start treatment and make the assessment. And then there's a full paramedic unit, which is 2 paramedics. All 3 of your engines have 2 paramedics. Engine 50, several years ago, before the hospital closed, was a PAU, 1 paramedic. After the hospital closed, between grants and then the city helping fund, we were able to put a 4th person on there and make that a paramedic engine. So we added an additional paramedic to the city. The other piece that serves the city well is you have a direct contract between the city and Care Ambulance. Care Ambulance is, they transport our patients, and they're EMT level. They're not paramedic level. Care Ambulance is dedicated to the city of San Clemente with those 2 ambulances. They don't share them with other cities. So how we utilize that, if there's a call, we'll send a paramedic unit to the call, no matter what the call is. If it's a BLS or a basic life support call, so a lower level medical call that the patient wants to go to the hospital, the patient will go in the back of the private ambulance, Care Ambulance, with the 2 EMTs, and they will go to the appropriate hospital. If it's a advanced life support, so a higher level call, but stable, So we don't expect a type of call where you're giving oxygen and maybe an IV, not a lot of medication, but you need a paramedic level care to watch them. We will send one paramedic to the hospital in the back of the ambulance. What that allows is that unit to go back in service. It's now a PAU. It's 3-person with 1 paramedic on it. So you still have that pump in the roll area, and you still have every unit carries 2 sets of medic gear. So they still have full medic complement, 1 paramedic, and it goes down to a 3-person unit, so there's still a pump. So it allows us to keep some coverage. Care ambulance and that paramedic will deliver the patient to the hospital, and when they're done, because they're dedicated directly to the city, they're able to bring that paramedic directly back to the fire station and make it fully staffed 2-person paramedic unit again. And then the highest level call, let's say it's a cardiac arrest or a critical call, both paramedics will go in the back of the ambulance and go to the hospital, and that engine or truck will follow up to the hospital to pick up their 2 paramedics and then get back to the city as soon as the call is complete. Does that answer your question? I was trying not to get too deep into it for everybody, but is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, and it's my guess you probably have some statistics someplace that breaks down, how often. I'm not sure how you define it. Like 1 paramedic follows up, 2 paramedics follow up. The differences. Do you have that information someplace?
I can request that I can get some information for you.
Okay. All right.
You're looking for the one medic versus a 2-person, 2 medic follow-up information. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and also, basically EMT calls, where they're sent off without any paramedics. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Let me see.
And let me just ask you, do you cover any of the fire stations with outside fire engines when they go dark like that? Is there any move-ups used? I guess is what I'm asking.
Sure. So typically for medical aid, we don't do a lot of move-ups unless we start getting multiple medical aids in the city. So San Clemente, because of the geography, we aggressively move up and cover our fire stations down there. So when we get a larger incident, something where units are going to be committed for an extended period of time, whether we're bringing units down from up north. When we get a fire in San Clemente, we usually cover the city with units from Santa Ana and Irvine and all over the county. We also have the ability in an agreement with Camp Pendleton to bring up one of their paramedic units, or what we often bring up is one of their truck companies, and they've agreed to cover our stations, and we do the same for them when they get their larger fires. So we do have a very aggressive move up and cover policy, but not every time that there's a medical aid. Usually it depends for something that's going to be a longer than that, 30 to 40 minutes.
Okay. And outside of the medical calls, let me just ask you, are any of the engines in truck, are they on any kind of pre-designated strike team?
So the only one would be engine 350. So that's cross staff. So station 50 is on a strike, pre-designated strike team. But engine 60 and truck 59 are not.
All right. And if they're called out, do you move up an engine while you're trying to restaff it?
So when we call out, what we do is we try to determine the length. So if it's going to be a smaller fire in Camp Pendleton that we send a strike team down, and they're going to be committed for a couple hours, we typically don't call back to upstaff engine 50. So what we're doing is we're constantly balancing where the holes are as we send some units out, and we balance that and try to reduce and we really look at a coverage. We've got a couple of pretty slick maps that come up that turn different colors based on coverage for different areas by battalion. So when 50s goes out, so engine 50 actually went out last night. They went to the lake fire up at Lake Hughes. And then within 2.5 to 3 hours, they had engine 50 upstaffed.
Okay.
That it, Gary?
That's it for now.
Anyone else would like to jump in on this?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. That's pretty good.
So where does Care Ambulance station? Are they in your stations, or are they just kind of freelance around town, or what do they do?
So the way that we had had it before COVID was there was one, it's ET50, they were in station 50, and the other is in station 60. And then COVID hit, and we've all been trying to do our best to limit exposures where we can. When it first hit, we got hit pretty hard in the first couple of weeks, and we were concerned where this thing was going. So what we did was we've closed all of our fire stations to the public and tours. And the other thing we did was we worked with the city, and the city was able to move them temporarily into the old Station 60, which is under City Hall, the old City Hall, under the council chambers. So they're actually currently, both ambulances are operating out of and responding out of the old City Hall.
So we have 2 ambulances assigned to San Clemente then, and they will go into Dana Point or whatever, but they are stationed here.
So they are stationed here. The difference is your ambulance is dedicated to the city because of your direct contract with Care Ambulance. If you look at many of the other cities, it's more of a regional resource. What I like about it for the city of San Clemente is that your ambulances, for the most part, are within the city. If there ever was a need for additional ambulances through the mutual aid program that the ambulance has, and I'll let them speak for their own, but they can pull ambulances down from up north, whether it's Dana Point and San Juan and that type of thing, to get additional ambulances. But you have dedicated ambulances to your city, and that, especially with your geography, it works really well.
And they don't staff paramedics, they're only EMTs on those ambulances?
Correct.
Okay. And then our response times, for like an EMS call, we have 3 different, 2 engines in a truck, and they respond to their district. What is our normal response time from time they leave the station until the time they get there? Do we know what that is?
So the driving time from the station to on scene?
Well, yeah, I know it must take a couple of minutes with dispatch by the time the call comes in and dispatch gets the calls out. But what's their, either the whole time from the time the call comes in till they get on scene, or the time when they receive the call, not when dispatch receives the call?
So I can pull up specific stats for you if you need them. I don't have them in front of me. What our guidelines are is we have a get out of the station in 60 or 90 seconds. So anything where you're not putting on additional gear, it's a 60-second get out time. We shoot for 90 seconds if you're putting on gear or if it's a night call, the 90 seconds to get out of the station. Typically, depending on the type of call, we look for about a 5-minute response drive time. So you're looking at anywhere from 7.5 minutes to where is kind of our normal time. I haven't looked at the stats.
And that doesn't include the time it takes someone to call dispatch for dispatch to actual dispatch. So we're probably looking at closer to like 9 or 10 minutes for
No, it's less than that. And you would be amazed, and like I said, I apologize, I don't have the numbers in front of me. You'd be amazed at how quickly dispatch turns a call around. From when they pick up the phone, they get an address, and they push the button, and the bells go off in a fire station. We're talking less than 30 seconds for that.
Oh. Yeah, that would be, I didn't expect you to have that. We didn't expect you to have that today for sure, but that would be some good information for us to have. Not only the time it comes in, the time it takes to dispatch, the time it takes for them to actually go to responding, and then the time that they get there. That would probably be some of the best information we could get about our efficiency of the fire department.
Sure.
So that's one thing. And then also, when you have a first alarm, what units do you send on a first alarm response?
So first alarm will have the battalion chief. It'll have 4 engines. It used to be 3. We added 4 because that's like a standby rescue team. So we have 4 engines, and then 2 truck companies.
So to a typical house fire, you send 4 engines in a truck?
Correct. 2 trucks.
So 4 engines and 2 trucks.
Correct.
So if
it's a commercial fire, so a strip mall or something larger, it'll get 3 trucks.
Wow.
And so that's something that we changed, I want to say 2 years ago, to up that and decrease that reflex time. We used to send a little bit less, let people get on the scene and evaluate. With our new fire chief, we thought to decrease that reflex time, get them on the road, we can always cancel you.
Right.
Our full response is 4 engines, 2 trucks, and a battalion chief.
Wow.
Anyone else? Chief, I have one follow-up question.
Sure.
Just for my information, when I dial 911, who picks that up initially?
So at first, it's going to go to your primary PSAP, they call it, but it's your it'll go to your law enforcement.
Got it.
So with you, it'll go directly to the sheriff department. If you're on a cell phone or on the freeway, I don't know exactly the borders, but it'll go to CHP, and then they transfer it to us as a secondary. If it's fire or medical, then they transfer it to us.
Got it. Okay. So your
law enforcement is the first ones to pick up the phone.
That's it. Good.
Right.
Thank you.
One more thing.
Yes, sir.
We send our paramedics. I know the ambulances do the billing. What happens for paramedic services? Does San Clemente bill for those services, and does the ambulance bill for them and reimburse us, or do our paramedic services, are they free?
Well, I'd like to say they're free, but they're part of your contract with the fire department. As far as now, what Care Ambulance does do, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they do. They bill for their services and their transport, and if it's an ALS level call, they do give us a portion of it in to recover some of the ALS level gear that was used.
Got it.
So there is some transfer, but Care Ambulance does all the billing, and whether they collect or not is depending on what Care Ambulance is able to do. OCFA does not bill individual patients.
Okay, thanks.
Good job.
I just had one last question.
Yes, sir.
Out of curiosity, is who responds to the Trestles area?
So Trestles is technically San Diego County, correct?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that is Pendleton that does that.
Okay.
And then we also we get pulled into there every so often, mutual aid into Trestles as well. Kind of a gray area in there. Pendleton has great paramedic level services as well, but initial response in San Diego County is going to be Pendleton for down there.
Okay.
Hey, Rob, one more thing I was just noticing. You're going to get us a little bit about response times. Can you also get us kind of the number of alarms we go on a year and what each engine company responds to a year, the total number? Would that be possible?
Yes, and you want it broken down by each station as well?
Yeah, that would be good if that's not too much trouble.
No, we can get that for you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that would give us a good idea of what's going on and stuff. That'd be really cool.
Absolutely.
Very
Thanks
helpful.
again.
Very, very helpful. Anyone else?
Now, once again, I know I was a guest at this meeting. I can stay on if you guys would like, or I can drop off with it. I'm here for you, whatever you choose to do.
Well, I'll leave that one up to you because this is an open meeting to the public, and you come on down. You can see what we do.
Great, thank you.
Of course, we're all seeing what we can do too. At this point. Okay, Adam. I think we got oral and written communications on the agenda here.
Yes, and before we move on to that, I wanted to let everybody know, as far as the minutes go,
Right.
at the next meeting, there will be two sets of minutes to review, the first meetings and this meetings, and then subsequently we'll be reviewing each previous meeting's minutes at every meeting going forward. So those will be coming. Oral and written communications. Members of the public who wish to provide comments to the Public Safety Committee on matters that are within the jurisdiction of the City of San Clemente, but not separately listed on the agenda, may email their comments to atamiana@san-clemente.org That's ATAMIANA at san-clemente.org for reading during the oral communication portions of the agenda. Transmittal by 3 p.m. on Public Safety Committee meeting days is recommended. Emails will be read publicly at the meeting up to the allotted time limit of 3 minutes per person. For today's meeting, we have one communication, and this communication comes from Cord Bauer, and it reads, thank you all for taking the time to volunteer for the Public Safety Committee. Unfortunately, you do not have big shoes to fill. The Matrix study and resulting task force was an exercise in providing political cover for the past City Council and was hamstrung at the start by Councilmember Ham and the Assistant City Manager. I say this only because the level of frustration felt by residents regarding safety in this town has not abated. If anything, the frustration is getting worse, although most of the frustration is now coming as a result of the state and county actions. I have 2 points only. First, if anything at all comes from this group, I hope it is a set of guidelines and information that the city can use yearly in order to measure its safety. The measure should be between past years and also surrounding cities. I also hope that it gathers information beyond what is gathered now, and recognizes some of the shortcomings of the current information now available from OCSD. Please contact me if you'd like examples. Second, it has been years since AB 109, Prop 47, and Prop 57, and we all knew what would happen based on these laws. It's like watching a slow-motion train wreck. While we all appreciate the added deputies to the ranks, the residents are still hoping for more. I'm truly thankful that the City Council did not push back the Safety Committee because of COVID-19, but at the same time, we are all anxious for action. I think we all hope to see items that can be implemented immediately come from the Safety Committee. Thank you again for your time and commitment, Cord Bauer. And that is it for the public communications.
Chairman Berkuda?
Yes.
Yeah, I had and I forwarded it to all you. I had a citizen email me directly in my city email with a comment, and I think it would be appropriate if that was read at this meeting also. And Adam, did you get that from me? I forwarded it. I know Chief Manhart got it. He gave me the thumbs up. I don't know if the rest of you got it. But anyway, Chairman Berkuda, could I?
Please.
If you don't have it, Adam, I'd be happy to read it. It's not very long.
Yeah, I'm not finding it, but please go ahead and read.
Okay. This is from Camille Wyatt, who is a very, like Cord Bauer, very concerned citizen and is involved in a lot of city matters. Anyway, it's I'm very concerned about the new homeless that arrive daily in the downtown area. There's usually at least one a day. Most are either mentally ill or addicted. I have yet to see anyone from CityNet in this area reaching out and trying to help them. Does your committee have any interaction with CityNet? And if so, can you please find out exactly what they are doing to get these people the help they need so we don't have daily screaming and psychotic break episodes down here that impact lives negatively, their lives negatively and ours as well? What do their reports say every month? Referring to CityNet, I assume. Another issue that really needs to be addressed would be helpful regarding the aforementioned as well as petty crime in the area. Is community policing. OCSD should have one foot patrol team walk a beat to speak to the downtown and other areas as well. Not only does that deter crime, but it helps with community relations. It might be helpful if your committee actually spent a few hours downtown San Clemente in the Triangle area and the senior center to see what actually occurs on a daily basis and gain a better understanding of what this increasing problem is. Thank you. Look forward to your reply. Camille Wyatt.
Okay. I have one question just for clarification. What's the Triangle area?
The Triangle area is down by is it the Pier Bowl area that they're talking about?
Oh, okay. All right.
I believe
No.
so.
No, I don't think it is. It's actually a set of bars on Camino.
Oh, you're talking about like, okay, the red fox and that's the triangle? Oh,
Right.
okay.
JDs and all that in there. Yeah, they call that the triangle. For some reason, I'm not sure why. Like, I haven't been to any of those bars,
Yeah.
but my son told me that.
I understand, Gary. No, I understand that you might be an expert in that area.
The reference of the triangle is it's the triangle between Ole's Tavern, Duke's, and the Red Fox, and it's those three bars outlining an area of bars that are known as the triangle.
Very good.
Thank you for translating that. Man. I got these code words. It's crazy out here. Got it. So noted on both of those. Okay, Adam, on reviews and recommendations, what do you have planned on? What is that one to do? That's number 7 on the agenda.
Thank you, Chair Bercuda. First, I would like to acknowledge that Lieutenant Manhart is now has joined the meeting. Can you hear us, Lieutenant? And would you mind just testing your audio so we know that we can hear you if you speak?
There we go. How are we doing?
Wonderful.
Perfect. Thank you very much. The reviews and recommendations section is a placeholder for future agenda items that the committee would be doing related to reviewing performance measures. The idea here is that during the development of the work plan, the committee would establish what its reviews of performance measures would entail. Once that is identified, then those items would be, I'm assuming, would be a consistent item on every agenda to review performance measures. At this point in time, we don't really have direction. Staff doesn't really have direction on which performance measures we're reviewing, what the time frame of those is, what the benchmarks we're reviewing them against are. So I wanted to put it on here just so we maintain consistency with our agendas.
So for clarification, that would be the spot where the sheriff and the fire would make their presentations on statistics that come in?
If the committee would like them to do a presentation, that would be the place. If the committee would rather have data provided on a periodic basis, that would be the part of the agenda where the committee would then discuss it, deliberate on it, identify recommendations based off of the review of that data. But again, this is the committee is currently in the process of establishing what the committee would like for itself and its meetings. The agenda can be altered, but in terms of consistency with how other reviewing bodies work, this is the place in the agenda where this type of action would occur. And I foresee in the future most of the committee's work would actually be under reviews and recommendations, as that's what the committee is essentially called for. Right now, most of our items are under new business or unfinished business, just because they're once in a while type of actions, not consistent review. That I believe the committee will be shortly moving on to once the work plan is adopted.
Okay, got it.
Chairman Bercuda?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, for clarification, Adam, so in this spot here, recommendations, can we as committee members talk about possible recommendations for the committee at this time?
As in like the...
Yeah, if you're referring to right now, absolutely. There's the word none essentially just implies that city staff has not provided any information to discuss. The committee can discuss recommendations if they want. However, the only warning I would give is that no deliberations or decisions can be made on non-agendized items. But if the committee would like to agendize something for the next meeting that they can take action on, now would be a time to do that.
Okay, in that case, Chairman Barcuda, I'd like to speak to two possible recommendations.
You're on. You got it.
Number one would be if there's a facilitation for a closed session, a brief closed session before our open meeting, so we could catch up and discuss like the council does. And the other would be, is there a way to change the status of this meeting from an ad hoc meeting to a regular meeting?
Irregular agendas. As I understand, the city council is the one that sets that policy. So we'd be going back to the city council, making recommendations to them. And I think we can probably do that with when we do our work plans and all those other things. For example, our mission statement and our purpose and things that can be discussed. All that stuff will be presented to the city council. I believe it'd be the proper time to do that. And then we can get an agendize as far as having a meeting on a particular day of the month or 2 days a month and stuff. I think right now we're just kind of feeling out, do we need once a month? Is that enough? Or do we maybe two? Right, Adam? Put any on that?
Yeah, that is definitely something the committee should be considering. I would say just for comparison's sake, most other committees like this would be meeting once a month, once every other month, or maybe even once a quarter. But again, what the committee is charged with would dictate how often the committee needs to meet. So that that'll be up to the committee, and you have my full support, whatever that schedule may be.
Thank you. The idea here is that we got to find out what it is the city council wants us to look at. So without going to them right now and asking them, I think we need to put together a list of things that we think that we should be looking at, and then the city council can look it over and say, yeah, I agree, no, I disagree, or I want you to go this other way. But it gives them something to go with, and we have something to chew on also.
Yeah, and Chairman, could you have Adam speak to the closed session issue?
Sure.
That will require a bit more research on my part, but I can tell you I don't think that there's anything within the committee's charge that is going to allow them to meet in a closed session format, because those topics that are to be discussed in closed format or in closed session formats are generally related to litigation and related items that there's specific protections for. And I don't believe that anything the committee is going to be discussing is going to be privileged in that same way. But I can do more research, and I'll report back next.
Now, the reason why you want to do a executive session, would that be more of a study session?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it'd be almost like more of an organizational session, since we wouldn't be saying anything that we wouldn't be saying in the open session, but it would be more like organizing what we're doing, since this is, we're starting this thing from scratch, and it would, my idea would be, it would make the meeting go smoother if we had something that, beforehand with all of us there, instead of talking two people at a time, or organizational about it. That's the only thing I would find it useful.
I completely agree with you,
100%
but I think that we're going to run into a problem with the strict sense of the thing. It's if we don't have a financial thing or a personnel type thing that we don't need to make public on, the public's going to have to see how we think, and I think it's going to go where we're going to have to get an additional meeting or just extend the meeting a little longer just to do exactly what you're saying, because I had the same thought as, we've got to get our thoughts together on this stuff, but the public's got to feel that we are giving them transparency of how our thought processes are going.
Right. Well, I think at some point when we have specific projects we're working on, hopefully we'll have specific committee members that might be spearheading those, and
Mhm.
it's no violation with the Brown Act if I get together with another committee member that might be on the same project, and we, we need probably some more time to get things together. If we're meeting once a month and trying to hash all this out, it's going to be a long time before we're actually tackling issues. So we just might have to do it that way,
Yeah, and I think here's another thing is that this work plan, the way I understand it, the city council wants to see something by October 1st, so that just gives 1 month and a couple of weeks left to do that. So we've got to either do a long meeting or break it up into a couple of meetings, at least for next month. So
Chairman, I was hoping maybe if some people, if the committee members brought some issues today that we could discuss as maybe prioritizing and putting into the work plan, at least we would have, I don't know, maybe 4 or 6 things that we think, projects that we ought to prioritize.
Absolutely. I think now would probably be the time to throw that out, and then we can agree in an open session like this of ones, the ones that are good, and then we can prioritize them so that we're just not going all over the place on the thing. So I appreciate your thoughts and recommendations so we can start listing these things.
So if we look at our goals that we have set, and I believe that we have determined that our purpose and mission statement and responsibilities are kind of set, not in stone now, but it seems like we've all agreed to those. Is that correct?
Well, we haven't really agreed to them because that would be a Brown Act violation.
Well, weren't we supposed to discuss those at this meeting?
I think we need to do that. I think that we have thrown some ideas out. Now we've got to, if we're going to make it a little more formalized here, let's talk about those then.
So, and then relaying that to what Rick said, that if we could have some kind of a work session or something, we've already written down some of the stuff we intended to do. We're to evaluate crime and citizen concerns. We're supposed to determine and define public safety issues, and then we go to evaluate and set measurable goals. Now that would take a lot of time for us to do that, right? In something like this. But if we could get the okay to discuss our mission statement now and our goals, and then determine if we could do the rest in a closed session, a closed study session, so we could come up with specific things. And then present it. I think that would save us a lot of time if we took that route in doing so.
But Chairman, didn't you come up with a draft of a mission statement and that I saw? Don't we have that in writing?
It's a suggested one that we kind of threw our notes together on the thing, and I think that's what we need to if we want to go kind of with that stuff, we need to actually present that in an open meeting. And
well, I like the one that I saw.
Great. Well, the public hasn't seen it yet.
So,
Right. Well, no, but what I'm saying is we can agree to submit that, can't we?
We can, but we got to read it.
Or publish it, whatever we need to do to
Right.
get it, get the okay. How do we go about getting that published, Adam?
Thank you, committee member Leffler. So what I would recommend is that any of the ideas that the committee has put together before the time when the committee was actually established and the members were sworn in, I would recommend that we at this meeting we go over general ideas for the work plan, and either assign people to actually fill out the work plan document and then submit it to me before the next meeting, and I will put that online for public inspection, and then you vote on those items at that time. So as I understand it, the committee has not made any determinations about anything. The committee's only been working on ideas. those ideas need to be presented to the public before the committee takes action on them. So that's what with something that maybe the chairman has drafted up already. I would recommend that be put on the next meeting's agenda as a potential work plan item, and then at that time the committee can make a determination on whether that should be in their full recommendation to the council after they have given the public a chance to weigh in on the merits of that document, if the public weighs in at all. But we just need to give them that opportunity before a determination is made by the committee.
Can we make that happen through a motion?
We can.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Okay.
and just one note on motions, because, and this is only due to the current coronavirus situation. Since we're doing meetings via Zoom, all votes have to be by roll call. So the chairman will call each person's name and get their actual vote. It's not going to be everybody voting at the same time, and then we count it that way. So I will leave it at that, and I think hopefully that answers everybody's questions so far.
Okay, with that information, Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
Okay, I move that the draft that Chairman Berkuda has been working on for the work plan and mission statement be written, drafted by Chairman Berkuda and submitted to the City Council for approval, or published to the public, and then whatever process it is to submit it to the City Council for approval.
Okay, and I think with that,
I second the motion.
good. And I think with that, we have to bring it back for our final approval of our committee based upon, going to the public with it. Publish it.
Correct.
Right, Adam?
I'll amend my motion to bring that draft back to our next meeting for discussion and approval.
Got it?
Yes.
I second that.
Good. Good. All right, then I'll make a roll call on it. Vice Chair Joe Janis.
Yes.
Committee Member Loeffler.
Aye.
Committee Member Walsh. Oh, we lost your sound.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I got a mute and mute.
And it's an affirmative for me, the chair. Let's find out.
So I think, Nick, you have to say that with that, the motion passes 4-0.
Right. Unanimous, as it were. Thank you. I just want to wait for Adam to say okay so far.
Thank you for that vote. I'm recording that now. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. Now, I think another one of these recommendations is issues for a work plan, individual work plan. I think what I was working on is more generalized. I'm looking for a couple ideas from each one of the committee members, is being specifics if we can. And then we can kind of throw those out too for consideration for a more formal work plan. And I think that's what we're looking for at this point. So I'm looking for who would like to go for that.
Something?
The Vice Chair?
Yeah, before we start that, I'm wondering if we should wait for the next meeting to agendize this, our purpose and mission statement and goals. And then after that is done, at that next meeting, then we bring this up, because all that is going to relate to what we have to our mission statement that comes in. So I'm not sure if it would be premature or not to start doing that right now. I need Adam's help on that.
Yeah, well, my thought on this is that we can discuss it now like we would in a work session and get ideas out there and see if we're going the right direction as far as the whole committee's doing it. We're doing this in public so that the public knows that we have their best interest at heart and mind, and we're not doing things that aren't transparent. And I think that the two things, the one with the purpose and the mission is one document, and I think the other one would be a list of things that the city council could be, that we can apply to the city council and say, this is what we'd like to work on. What do you think? Adam, do you have a...
Thank you, Chairman Bercuda. Just a point of clarification for the public. I believe that we've skipped over item 8A and we've gone to item 9A, consideration and development of the Public Safety Committee work plan. If you would like, the committee can reorder that, and it makes sense to do that, to decide the next meeting date of the committee after today's discussion of the work plan. Essentially, that's going to inform how quickly you want to meet again. But as far as the question at hand, there's a work plan that the city council has, a template, I should say, that the city council has adopted. But that does not mean that the work plan cannot include additional items like an initial statement of mission and purpose, and overarching goals, and have them review that at the same time that they review the work plan. Because as far as I'm hearing from the committee, they see that the two are intricately linked. The work plan is an annual deal, but the overall mission, which I believe needs clarification anyways, the directions from the council are very thin on what the committee's to do. That makes sense. So I think as one package, those two could go together with the mission statement and the draft document that the chairman's putting together being almost the introduction cover page, and then the work plan itself following from that. I would like to see the work plan and that draft mission statement document being considered together in the next meeting or two, rather than finalizing that document and then getting to the work plan. I think we're getting up to the wire if we delay continuing working on the work plan. But that's staff's 2 cents.
Chairman, if I could, comment further on Adam, and when I can say it's too bad that former Mayor Dan Bain isn't still here, but he's not. But when it was his idea to form this committee, and we had numerous conversations, and Laura Ferguson was involved in it, and later Gene James, is they wanted this committee to be a feet hit the ground, the reason they want us to be experts on here, not citizens, is they trust us to know what issues should be addressed. And they certainly wanted to be able to weigh in and add things, but they were really interested in putting people on here that kind of knew what the issues were going to be and could address them and identify them, from the get-go, and not be a reactive. They wanted it to be a proactive committee, and I'm reasonably sure that's still how all the remaining committee or council members feel. So that's just my 2 cents.
Well, that's a great observation, and I don't disagree with that one at all. But I need to, because of the time is important, we've just got a few weeks left, we've got to start working on, like today, at least get our ideas out so that we can say, hey, these are the important ones, and we should be spending our time on these. So I would call for the members to present their ideas if we can, and we can list those down. You want to go first? All right.
I know Joe. Gary, because I know Joe's got some great ideas, and so Gary, jump on it for sure.
I was going to suggest that we look at what other cities are doing, what their homeless approach is, find out more about CityNet, what the contract exactly is with the city, because it seems like the homeless problem is one of the top priorities law enforcement wise, and also, if I guess you guys didn't know, fire department wise, because they're going out in a lot of them, and they also set the senior citizen building on fire here recently. But with that, to focus in on what other approaches are being used so we can make recommendations regarding our homeless.
Okay. Okay. So you're looking for best practices and thing too, yeah.
And Chairman, I know that, and what Gary's, I think the citizens did a poll on what issues that they thought were most important to the city, and the homeless issue came up number one. So that should certainly be a focus of this group. It's probably going to overlap with the human relations board, or whatever, we're putting 2 members on the homeless committee of that human resources board. So there will be some overlap approach to that, which hopefully they'll get that up and running soon. But I think, the homeless issue as it affects public safety should probably be number 1 on our list.
Okay. Any other clarification on the homeless thing? Homeless is just, what do we do with them? That type of thing. Gary, is there any more that you want to put on any subtitles to homeless that you want to throw on there?
No, I think just under a general plan of homeless and gather as much information as we can. Again, how other cities are approaching it, what the current laws are, all that. And to Rick's point is that the homeless task force will also blend in with that, but we'll be looking at it more from the how it affects law enforcement and the fire services from our end. So
very appropriate. Any other council committee people?
Yeah, so Gary, it was a really good idea that we rode along with the sheriff's department. I had 2 great ride-alongs, and Ed, your guys were so professional, just spot on. I rode along with Harris, and I rode along with Duran, and they taught me a lot of stuff, and I'm really thankful that you guys let us do that. And now, I know I brought up the matrix report before, and I heard Cord Bauer talk a little bit about it. I don't think the matrix report is going to be what we go by, but there were some good things written in the matrix report. We had a lot of information from some of our citizens, what we got, and we know the homeless situation is growing everywhere. It's growing here, and we also know that San Clemente doesn't have major crimes. We have a lot of nuisance crimes that our people are very upset about. Speeding in our streets, late night parties, people fishing in our cars, and stealing stuff at night. And our deputies are overwhelmed with this thing. They have good response times, they have good mutual aid, and they're busy. And when they have these little nuisance calls, like responding to a vacation rental unit that's very noisy or something like that, there's sometimes priority 2 calls, and that's something that I think we've got to take care of. There's also a disconnect between what people think of our sheriff's department and what's really happening. And whether it's due to different social media pages or what, but we need to create a credible page that we can give stuff out that are actual happenings and not just opinions of people. The problem on Facebook is, in social media pages, if 1 or 2 persons say something, all of a sudden it becomes fact. And so and some of the stuff might be very true, but we've got to be able to decipher between that. And our citizens got to have some place to go for that. Now, in saying that, also our neighborhood watch program over the years has dwindled away to nothing. We used to have a girl in the city that one of our police officers that was so dedicated to this that we had such a good program, and it's fallen down. Now, it is my opinion that Neighborhood Watch could be a very good group where it was great when I rode along with our homeless deputy. He knew all the homeless people in town. When he didn't, he stopped and he met them. He knew them by name. He knew their background. And if we could develop some type of a Neighborhood Watch program throughout the city, that everyone has it, that these officers know the captains, I think our communications would get better. And people could start being the eyes and ears of our city. Let's face it, it's very expensive to put new officers on the road, and someday we're going to probably have to put more on the road. But we got to develop ways that we make these connections for everyone. So it's my thoughts on our mission statement as we start talking about that in our goals, is that we've got to evaluate, crime and citizen concerns. And we've got to determine the public safety issues that face us. And then we've got to set measurable goals on how we're going to get this done. So that's how I think, as Adam said, our goals and our mission statement are going to intertwine with our work, our work program. So that's how I'd like to see this thing going. If we all work together, I think we could do that, but it's very difficult to do everything in open forum here, to develop these plans and everything. It's not as effective as if you could get together with a work program and hash things out and then present it to the public. But if that's not allowed, then so be it. We'll do it in an open session like this. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you, Committeeman Janice. I agree with you, but I think our hands are tied with the Brown Act.
Chairman Bracuda?
Yes, sir.
I'd like two things. I'd like to expand on one of the things ideas that Joe said. And number two, again, if let's say the homeless issue, let's say that Gary and I are the two committee members that are tasked with that as our primary, we can get together and work on that outside of a meeting. We can get together and work on that, work on what we need to do. On the second thing, I'm going to expand on what Joe said about the citizens being more aware. And actually, Joe and I discussed this a little bit. I'd like to see a better way that this web page, a better way the citizens, an easier way they can go on and see what the crime situation is in the city. I was saying we use pin maps in LA since the 50s, where you had a big map of the city, you put a different color pin for every type of crime in the exact spot it happened. I think without too much work, we could get together an IT person and maybe tax the sheriff's department they have a crime analyst. We could get some info from them and maybe make a virtual pin map that would not only include the law enforcement activity, but we could even put fire activity, response, and marine safety activity on there, where a citizen could just pop on that web page and look and see what's happening in my neighborhood. They'll know specifically what kind of crimes. Now, if Joe and I were the committee members that were tasked with that, we could get together and work on that. We wouldn't have to wait a month for a meeting. We could work on that and put the mechanics together and then present it to the committee. So I think we need to think a little bit outside the box here to make these things work. Otherwise, it's going to be 6 months before we do anything. So that's my idea on that specific, I think we've got the homeless. That's one. Two, we've got the crime activity, reporting, and community awareness. And number three, we have the neighborhood watch to implement the neighborhood watch. And again, if Joe and Nick were the guys on the neighborhood watch, you could get together and meet and work on the mechanics of this so we could actually make some of these things come to fruition soon.
Now, I don't disagree with you at all on that, and I think that's a very viable solution, but we've got to come up with those and then disseminate them into our little groups, But until we can talk together and come up with these ideas, we're just kind of whistling here. We don't want to do that. We want to be a planned thing. And on top of that, we don't have to wait for another month for another meeting. We could have other meetings more often.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, Adam, can you guide us on that as far as meetings? together, and just let me clarify something. If the four of us got together to play golf, we can do that, can't we?
Yes, as long as all you're doing is playing golf.
Oh, of course,
And-
of course.
but
Or
here's the
shooting
thing,
baskets,
there-
shooting hoops or something, right?
Yeah,
We
but
can
here's
do
the
that.
thing, there's also, it is often recommended that you don't get together for golf or shooting hoops because it's the appearance of a meeting that is going to that could give the public the idea that there is a violation of the Brown Act. So our recommendation would be that you don't do that. Now, two of you could get together and discuss whatever you want because two of you alone cannot make a decision for the committee as a whole. That's the point there. What I will say though, as far as this discussion's going, I like where you're going with things. There's as committee member Leffler's succinctly identified, there are 3 ideas that have already been put out there. To assist in furthering this for the next meeting, what I would recommend is that the committee can make a decision right now that they like these ideas and any others you come up with today to have 1 or 2 of the committee members develop the work plan document for each one of these ideas and present it at the next meeting. And by present at the next meeting, I mean give it to me like a week ahead of time so I can put it in the agenda. And then at the next meeting, you guys can wordsmith it and then vote on it. And then that's our work plan going to the council. So all we really need to do right now is just come up with those general ideas and then task somebody with developing the actual work plan document for it. In addition to one of these ideas, I would recommend that the committee consider an idea to define how they're going to review performance measures. How often, from who, what are the measures they want to see, and how are recommendations going, how are they going to come out of that? That's something if the committee would like, I'm more than happy to take a stab at it and develop up a work plan idea for that and then present that at the next meeting for your consideration. I think that's something that definitely needs to be part of the work plan. In addition to the other kinds of ideas, the more solution-based ideas that the committee is coming up with right now. So I'm going to throw that out there, and I'll leave you to continue your discussion.
Yeah, I think that we've already decided that Gary and Rick were going to be involved with our homeless, so they could for sure start.
No, committee member Janice, no decision was made. Discussions in the past have occurred, but that item is still on the committee's agenda after the work plan discussion.
Okay, so
and at that time you can select and appoint.
Okay, so then we do know at this point that Nick and I could be part of the work team that develops our mission goals and also recommendations for the Neighborhood Watch program. Is that correct? So if we got together and made a work plan, and then submit it to you a week before the next meeting, then that could be on the agenda, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, and that would help. Any other ideas from the committee, Ben?
Chairman Bakut, I had one other general idea that I'd like to submit for a project. Oh, I'd like to back up. I think that we should bifurcate actual projects, like what we're talking about, what we talked about so far, and then have another category where we are constantly monitoring. And that could be things like response times, in public safety, crime stats. If something, we're always monitoring the homeless situation, but if something changes with a contract with FAM or CityNet or something, we should constantly be looking at those things, even though we're not working on a specific solution or project. But we should also have a list that we have that we're, constantly reviewing. That's my suggestion for that. But then back to the projects, I'd like to establish, I'll go back. I saw a video that one of our local homeless people posted on Facebook a few months ago. And it was one of our local homeless who's very, very bright and very antagonistic. He was being put off the beach during the closure of the beach, and a lifeguard told him to leave, and this particular individual baited the lifeguard and said, well, I'm homeless, where am I supposed to go? The lifeguard, well, I don't know, you go where you want. And this person kept on baiting, well, you have to give me a place to go. And so they went back and forth, and it was really, I struggled with it. I don't know if anybody else saw this video. It was posted. Lieutenant or Chief Manhart, did you happen to see that video?
You know what? The lifeguard one I didn't, but I believe it's the same individual that we are talking about. He did it with my deputies.
Exactly, when he was kind of camped in front of a business and they were putting him out. Yeah, exactly. So Chief Manhart is very aware of this individual, but it was pain to watch because the poor lifeguard didn't really even know what resources to give him. And Matt, I mean, the homeless person kept on baiting him. And I think we should work on establishing a protocol to where even if it's a handout where they just say, here, sir, here's numbers to call, or I can call CityNet, I can do something for you. It would take that out of it, because I was looking at the marine safety sheet that they gave us and what the responsibilities are, and they did list law enforcement as one of the responsibilities. But I don't think that they have the resources and the communications, or they can have better resources to deal with law enforcement. And during the pandemic, when there was the passive and non-passive use of the beach, there was a lot of miscommunication about what authority the lifeguards had to do or had that they could actually do. And I would like to see a general better communication between marine safety, law enforcement, and fire. I just think we can work on some things to make that better. I don't, Chief, are you able to, are the lifeguards on 800 megahertz also? Can they call you right direct, or do they have to go through their dispatch?
Yeah, they have to go through our dispatcher. Most of the time it's through cell phones, but they are not on our frequency. They don't use our dispatch, and so no.
Okay, well, which brings up an issue, certainly. Whether we can solve that, I don't know, but I think we can make it better. So basically what I'm saying is one of our projects might be to really facilitate maximum communication between all of our public safety entities. And that's
a good idea. Yeah. No, that's good idea. Good topic on the thing. All it takes.
And then one of our monitoring things along with should be making sure that the police station is going full steam ahead all the time. That I would make that our top monitoring issue. Certainly we can't hammer nails, but we can certainly make sure that that's getting facilitated as quickly as possible. And I think that ought to be a high priority of this committee also.
I think that's one of the things that Adam is talking about is the standard document of what the status is on statistics and things, and that could be also on there. Is where are we currently on the new station and how it's being implemented? Right, Adam?
Yes, Chairman, that is correct. Committee Member Leffler, one item that you were discussing was bifurcating project work and review work, and I believe you were referring to the agenda and how we organize that. For the time being, and maybe we can always adjust this later, but for the time being, I think that the reviewing work would be under that reviews and recommendations section, and all of the project work will start out as a new business item. And if it's a continuing project, it would then go into unfinished business as something that's on every agenda until it's completed, until that project's completed. And so if if we can experiment with that for a while, see if that works for the committee. If not, we can definitely readjust the agenda. But I think that's how it would normally be done. So for at least now, if we can start with that, we can see how that goes.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the one last thing I'd like to ask Chief Manhart is, you kind of heard us throwing things around, and is there anything particularly, an area that you might be interested in thinking that we could help out?
Yeah, hold on, let me pull this up. I wanted to bring this up to you guys. Give me 1 second. I just want to have the information correctly. Here we go. So, in law enforcement, I know Rick and Nick, you guys are very familiar with that, about using technology and how it helps us benefit. And you're probably going to hear a couple things from a couple other contract cities with OCSD that purchased some items, and you might get inquired, and I want to kind of inform you on that, and then put you in contact with with the individual that can do a presentation. I participated in a presentation, was really good. And real fast, what it is generically. So on our patrol cars, we have the plate reading system, and it mounts up on our cars and it reads plates and does that. Well, I just talked to our fleet people today, and it's about $33,000 to outfit one vehicle with that. And it's a great tool, but I'll be honest with you, that's extremely expensive. But flock camera systems currently in Talega, the Talega Homeowners Association put these cameras up, and they're working together to connect it with OCSD. But the city of Lake Forest and the city of Stanton both purchased these cameras. And what's really neat about this, there are a lot of things, but it's basically you just pay for the cameras. You don't pay for storage or any of that kind of stuff. It's a straight $2,000 fee or something like that for each camera. But the technology of these cameras are phenomenal. And Rick and Nick, you guys are very familiar. So an example, if you had a burglary in your neighborhood between 2 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock, and it was a silver vehicle that left the area, well, traditionally, the investigators, we would sit there and we would watch 2 hours of video looking for every vehicle that comes by. But this system is so accurate that you type in there a silver vehicle, and it's motion activated, gives you every vehicle that comes through there. In addition, if you say, hey, it's a Toyota Camry, the technology on the camera is able to disseminate between a Toyota, a Lexus, a Camaro. It's phenomenal information. It even does pedestrians, bicyclists, red car, any kind of colors. It's just a great tool. And furthermore, so you guys have seen the new plates that have their paper plates, and this system has the ability to read paper plates. We've never had that, and so we can know if anybody is abusing that, or any car dealer is abusing that. And what they do is they connect it to OCSD. So as soon as a car goes through an intersection, it reads the plate. If it's a rolling 503 or a stolen vehicle, it notifies us immediately. And so the first day that Stanton put the system up, they had 2 occupied stolen vehicles within one day. And if you aren't familiar, a lot of burglars use stolen vehicles to commit other crimes. And so it is a phenomenal system. But I would like you guys to listen to the presentation and then make an educated opinion on that. And if you wanted to move forward, then great, go with that. But I would like Jesse Mund is the representative from Flock Systems. I talked to him about it, and he's very interested in doing that. So if you guys want to do that, then great, I'll set it up. And I think at minimum, at least you guys can listen to it and educate yourself on what's out there.
And how much did you say those cameras are?
What I heard, I think it was about $2,000 just per camera, and that's it. There's no maintenance fees. There aren't any maintenance fees. There aren't any upgrades or anything. It's just you pay for the camera. It stores the information in the cloud, and so therefore you're not responsible for IT people. And that it's a phenomenal. The way they designed it, it's extremely efficient, and it's extremely affordable. And like I said, the HOA over in Talega has them right now, so you can even reach out to there and find out what how they like it. The only issue is they've had this up and running for a while, but they haven't connected it to OCSD, which they're in the process of doing that. But Lake Forest and Stanton already have them, and they've already made the purchases, so it might come down. But this is kind of the new thing. And I think that you guys would be interested in listening to that.
New
So
technology.
maybe
Great.
we could add technology as the fifth area here that we're, as a project. And I'm just, Adam, does the city, is it involved in grant writing at all for law enforcement?
For law enforcement, I'm not aware, but we do grant writing in other departments. And, I know, maybe Lieutenant Manhart, are you aware, how is the grant for the COPS program acquired? I know our last budget included a grant. Was that something that was written by your staff, or did the city assist with that?
That was the city. It wasn't. We did not write that.
Okay.
So
Adam, do we have to make a motion to agendize a presentation for next meeting, or how's that work?
well, I think we're ahead of ourselves. I think we're getting ahead of ourselves in that we got to agree that that's one of the things we want to look at. So I think get the ideas out now and then say, okay, we can look at those things. Nice to have things are good, but there might be something more important to work on immediately rather than later on. Anybody else have any other ideas that we can discuss?
I had a question for Lieutenant Manhart. Lieutenant Manhart, I've seen two ATVs with sheriffs on them at the beach, riding around down at the beach and such. Are those full-time assignments just to our beach, or how does that work?
No, they're not full-time assignments. They're ancillary or mostly on overtime. And they're usually seasonal. What we do is for spring break, I have deputies fill the overtime, and then on the summertime, we open it up for overtime.
I see. And just as a side question, because one of the citizens that you may have heard said, why don't you guys they want a foot patrol in downtown, which I think is a little, I'm not sure that's exactly what we need, but I was wondering, have you, has the Sheriff's Department ever tried a bike patrol, and could you combine the bike patrol with the ATV patrol, kind of, something like that?
So we also have bike patrol, and bike patrol again is an ancillary task that we afford the deputies to work on overtime. So we don't do it full time, but those individuals that want to work it, we do have it as well. But I do not have, I'm telling you right now, Rick, on the email that you sent me, I do not have the staff to put a deputy walk up and down Del Mar. That's not going to happen. So, but the bike patrol, but the bike patrol and the ATVs, the quads, it's all on overtime. And what we try to do is we try to work with the lifeguards and try to augment the enforcement aspect of it. And some days during the day it's busy, but then in the evenings we want to have a presence during the evenings, and so that's kind of it's kind of fluid on that.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay, I'd like to throw out a couple of ideas, if I may, for possible topics here. How about identifying and defining public safety community standards, residential and business members? That way we know what's important for the community. Law enforcement, I know, works on community standards. You don't police the same way in one city as you would police in another one. So we got to find out what I'm suggesting is we can either do surveys or whatever, but to find out what is expected from the community members, both business and residential. That's one.
Chairman, would it be possible to combine that with one of the ones we've already talked about, like the crime activity pin map thing? If we're going to do that, could we combine the community input to that one?
We can combine it all together. I think what we're getting quantitative work from all those statistical things. And we've got to find some way of evaluating what the community wants, you know, and the community could be the city council. You know, that's one community, and they represent the community too. So grouping them together is not necessarily a bad idea, and it can be used in any of these things. Like, what's the community standard for homelessness? You know, let's give that a whirl. Okay.
I know what that. I can tell you what that is.
I'll leave that to the side for right now. I got another one here. I know when we first started off this thing way before COVID, I know that Gene James was hot on the issue of what is the impact of crime in San Clemente as a result of the systematic release of state prison inmates. For example, Prop 4757 and AB 109. Now we've got released because of COVID-19. So how's that? You know, there's another one is, you know, it's qualitative analysis. They have to get all these data points in there and saying it did in fact hit us, or it's not as bad as the homeless. Of course, the homeless have an impact on this also, because they're being released. They're ending up, a lot of them, I think, are becoming homeless, and we're the recipients of them too. So another topic I can throw out here is body-worn cameras. LA County just got okay from the Board of Supervisors for $35 million. You know, it takes money to do that thing. Plus, not only the hardware, but you got to store this stuff, be able to retrieve it, and all that. I know that there was some talk with the sheriff's department on that. I don't know what the status is on body-worn cameras, but Chief, could you give me an update on that real quick?
Yeah, we're moving forward with that. It's exactly what you talked about, the size of our department and the infrastructure and the staff to maintain that. So they're putting that all together. We are moving towards that, and we are going to get them. But who's paying for it and how we are going to set the system up and finding out the logistics of storing all that data is a huge undertaking. So they are coming. So I'm not sure if that's something that you guys want to delve into, because they're coming regardless.
Right. And so that's just another topic, basically. Okay. Disaster preparedness is another one of those community involvement things. That's a linkage there. Disaster preparedness, both law enforcement, fire, and marine safety. We're all into this disaster preparedness type thing. And as we found out with COVID-19, nobody was prepared for a pandemic. It just fell apart. So where do we stand on that in our community? You know, making sure our community is up to speed. And I think the city council will probably be interested on that one too. Just to throw that one out. And then I also have the thing about public safety with the local hospital. I know the city council's been working on that, but is that something that we should be put in there? I have no idea. So those are just my thoughts on there too. And I ask the committee members and Chief if you have any comments on any of those.
Well, all those are excellent. I'm thinking that, like the cameras, if we have a technology category, we could certainly put that in the technology category. What I'm trying to say is, if we have like 12 things that are all kind of crossing over to each other, maybe we could combine them into like small, 5 workable categories, and then we could always prioritize within those. Does that make sense to anybody?
I think you got a good thing on that is that we don't want to bite off more than we can chew, because if we commit to this stuff, we're going to be doing a full-time job just to do a decent report to the city council. So we have to pull it together, choose what's important, and that we think the city council is going to okay on us, and then like you said, divide us up into little subcommittees to address those.
I mean, I think the disaster preparedness could go under the topic of the public safety communication within each other. Could be, part of that facet would be disaster preparedness. If how the entities are working together. So we could combine that. Again, I think the body cams could go under technology, and it seems like that's just going to happen one way or the other anyway. It's probably nothing we have to do as a project. And then the hospital, anybody that's been following the city council knows what a complicated situation that is. It's the council's trying to decide whether to put out a contract for somebody. I'm not sure how much input everybody thinks we should have a hospital there. I'm just not sure as a committee what project we could do that's going to change the course of what's happening there. Maybe Adam has some input on that. I know they're putting out like an RF, request for, I mean, it's in the works, kind of.
Yeah, well, what I'm thinking more of is that as a public safety issue, is having a local hospital rather than having to ship people off 15 minutes, 20 minutes away could save some lives, especially we got this huge freeway that goes through. Not that we're looking for a trauma hospital, but at least we're looking for something that we can use, that we can use for all our members. And this is the southern end of the county, and it needs some sort of support. And all I'm saying is we could add a little emphasis to the city council and saying, this is what we got so far. City council says, "Oh, I didn't know that," and just keep the fire burning on that issue. That's all I'm suggesting.
Yeah. Again, maybe Adam can give an update on kind of where that process is in the city.
Yes, thank you, Committee Member Leffler. So, committee members, the city is currently working. The city council and city management staff are currently working on an RFP for some new operators to potentially take over that property. I don't know exactly where it is in that process. I can do some research and report back next time, but I can tell you just from my own experience in the city, as well as reviewing what the council's deliberating on, that the hospital is still a major issue in the city, and to piggyback off of some of Committee Member Leffler's comments, I think that he's touched on something relatively important, and that is that the committee might want to consider grouping some of these work plan projects together under larger categories for two reasons. One, doing specific projects like reviewing a particular camera system is probably too simplified for the idea of the work plan. However, a more general topic would allow the committee to review technology generally, not limit the committee's actions to only reviewing one camera system and leaving it at that. So I will reiterate that I like where Committee Member Leffler is going with the idea of this organization, and I've got, I'm jotting down all the ideas that I'm hearing, and I've got some ideas about how to combine based on his comments. I would recommend the committee get all the ideas out that they want to at this moment in time, and then we can, I can assist in helping organize those into some larger umbrella categories.
Any comment on that? I think that's a appropriate way of going, because we're considering all these ideas, and then we can group them into logical groups.
So, Chairman, can I just maybe summarize a little bit what I've been taking some notes here and see what you guys think about categories.
Right.
One, homeless, I think we start with that as a category. I mean, what we can do and how we approach it, we can certainly get together in small groups, whoever we've decided is going to be the head of, on that committee, the subcommittee, and we can throw around some ideas that we can bring back to this committee. The second one, crime activity and statistics. I think that's a good separate one. Also, it might overlap, but and then the neighborhood watch, I think, ought to be a category of its own. Again, some of the crime activity, we might be able to combine that, but I think for now it's good to have it on its own. Number 4 would be the public safety intercommunication aspect. And again, disaster preparedness could all be part of that. We can break it down into little subsections later. And then number 5 would be technology, where we could discuss the possibility of maybe cameras being a good idea, or where are we in the body cams for the sheriffs? And we could make recommendations to the city council at any time. But at least that way we've got 5 major categories, and then public standard could go, what Nick was talking about, which is really important, the feedback. And I'm trying to get people to email us and let us know, which they will start to do as this thing goes on. But that could be put into the crime activity and information area. So I think maybe those 5 categories might be a good way to start. I think they kind of encompass everything that we've all talked about.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and I think that's a good place to start. And if we don't have a problem with that, we can head on that. Mr. Adam, how do you feel on grouping them that way?
I'm supportive of that. There was one idea that popped up about the state level legislation and actions affecting local. Can we? And I apologize, Committee Member Loeffler, if you covered this. I was trying to write down notes as well. But I think one important thing that the committee could do would be to monitor state activities. New bills, especially right now, there are a lot of new bills that will have significant impacts on public safety for the city. Maybe have a section related to legislative efforts. That way, the committee, acting as experts, can help inform the council on matters that pertain to public safety, and better inform their stance on these types of issues.
Yeah, I think legislation's a great one. I mean, add that, we've got 6 basic categories. I think it was kind of what our target was anyway. When Joe and I had lunch, and when Nick and I had lunch separately, we talked about maybe putting together 6 categories for the work plan. And I think we're kind of there.
Yeah, we just have to, if we agree to those, then we just have to flesh it out, those things. So that'd be like, we could, break up into different ones that interest us, and we'll get it together on it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think those 6 categories sound pretty good right now. But I think as we start working together in our subgroups, we'll find that maybe some of them go together, and we could adjust them at that time. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to come together in an hour and a half and talk about this stuff and say, yes, it can be like this. So I think we got a good start, but I think the subcommittee thing, two of us together on a couple of these things would probably work pretty good. I think we'll be able to save some time and come back to the next meeting and look about what direction we're headed. But those 6 categories work for me, and if we have to massage them a little bit later, we will.
Good. So, now, does this need a motion, Adam?
Yes, and so I'm going to clarify a couple of things. What I would recommend is that the committee read off the 6. If Committee Member Leffler would like to make a motion to agendize or to direct both city staff and the committee members individually to take the 6 categories and develop work plans, drafts for each category to be presented to the committee at the next committee's meeting for consideration by the council. Then what we'll do is we can, part of that motion, it would be nice if there was a description of which committee members would be tackling which items. That way I can coordinate with each of those individuals separately after the meeting so that we're all on the same page about what should be drafted up in the work plans. So that way when we come back at the next meeting, we have drafts of the work plans and the committee can just simply deliberate on the merits of each one, and do any wordsmithing at that time.
Okay, just for clarification, so we'll make a motion to put these individual subjects, 6 individual subjects together, and then I don't know how we're going to divide this stuff up at this point, but I can do that independently and say, hey, how would you like to handle this and that? But we don't necessarily have to do that here, do we?
We can.
I recommend that you do.
Okay, all right. So is there a motion for these 6 items?
I will make that motion, but maybe we could divide them up first, and then is that okay if we kind of work on that a little bit, and then I will make that motion.
That's the motion.
Yeah. So I would suggest that maybe myself and Gary do the homeless to start with. Does that seem reasonable?
Yes.
Okay. The crime activity, PIN map, information assimilation, whatever we're going to call that. I mean, I'd be happy to work on. Is there anybody that?
I'll work with you on that.
Okay, so Rick and Joe. Neighborhood watch. I know Joe is certainly going to jump on that. Anybody interested in working on the neighborhood watch?
Nick?
I can handle that one.
Okay, Joe and Nick. Okay, the public safety, communication, infrastructure, everybody kumbaya, get along better. I certainly would like to work on that. Is there anybody who would like to?
Now, which one is that? Is that the?
That's number 4. It's I think there's some disconnect in the communication between all of our public safety, Marine, Fire, and OCSD could be made better. And I mean, I'll do it on my own. I don't care. That way, I mean, if I do it on my own, I can bounce stuff off of everybody.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's fine. Okay, so I've got that. Now we've got technology, which is a broad-based, anybody interested in the technology part of it? I think that's going to be the least amount of work if you care.
Let's go through these again. We had the home.
Is Committee Member Walsh's audio working?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I keep muting so I don't have background noise and stuff. Sorry. If you trust me, after my performance of getting onto the Zoom here,
I think you're the right guy for the job.
I'm actually a little bit more adept at this than you believe, but okay. Yeah, I would do that too, and but I do want to say I would like to do the legislation also because I do actually have a background in that. So.
Okay, why don't we do this? Okay, legislation. We're going to put Gary down there. Let's see. Nick, you need another one to have too. Does either technology or legislation float your boat?
Well, either that or, I could do the disaster prep, preparedness stuff.
That's going to be under neighborhood watch, isn't it?
That's under the, well, yeah, that's going to be, well, you're already on that.
Got it.
Yeah, so add the disaster prep to the neighborhood watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, so you're looking for.
I'm sorry, committee members. The disaster preparedness, in one previous comment, was discussed as being put under the overall interagency coordination.
Oh, you're right. That's exactly that should go under my public safety. So I'm going to add you to that one, Nick. You and I are doing the public safety, infrastructure, and disaster prep.
Okay.
So you're taking me off that one, correct?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
So,
I don't think you were on that one. You were on neighborhood watch.
Yeah.
The crime activity pin map.
That's
right.
the thing he's talking about.
So
No, the crime activity pin map one is about data. The public safety communication and coordination one is about interagency coordination and improvements to those processes.
So I'll tell you what. Joe's the only one on neighborhood watch now. I took Nick off because I put him on the public safety communication and disaster. I'll work with Joe on neighborhood watch also.
Okay.
So I got Joe and Rick.
I'm not
Okay,
sure.
so the only one now we have technology and legislation. That Gary's the only one on there. So we probably somebody should jump on one of those with him.
Well, I'll work on technology with Gary.
Okay, Gary and Nick. Okay, so then you're alone on legislation now, Gary, but if you need help or whatever, any of us, I'm sure, will jump in. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, can we just talk about something?
Yeah, okay.
Before we move on, can we go through those categories again? And can I
Yes.
just say what the names are and just correct me if I'm wrong? So the first category about homelessness, that's going to be committee members Leffler and Walsh.
Right.
The second category about crime activity data and PIN map is committee members Leffler and Janice.
Correct.
The third category, neighborhood watch, is going to be committee members Janice and Leffler.
Correct.
The fourth committee, the fourth concept about public safety communication coordination is going to be committee members Leffler and Bercuda.
And that includes disaster prep. You might want to put that in there, Adam.
Yes.
Okay.
I will make a note of that. Technology is going to be committee members Bercuda and Walsh. And then the sixth category, legislation, is just going to be committee member Walsh. Is that correct?
That's what I have.
Right now. Now, one more time on the neighborhood watch and crime tax. Who's got that one?
That's Joe and me, and that also includes your community expectations, Nick, on that one.
Got it. All right.
And I think when Adam throws these together, he'll probably email us with something that looks actually like English.
Yeah.
Not my scribbling, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. At least I'm hoping he does.
Yes, there will be a recap email on all of this before we all set off in our separate directions to put together these work products.
I think we've got some good stuff here now. Committee Member Leffler, did you want to make a motion to do this?
I will. I'm going to try to work my way through and with Adam's help here.
Okay.
So, okay, I would move that the committee direct city staff and committee members to draft a work plan with the following categories as being the body of that work plan. Number one, homeless overview with committee members Walsh and Leffler spearheading that committee. Number two, crime activity and information assimilation and presentation with committee members Leffler and Janis spearheading that subcommittee. Number three, neighborhood watch and community expectations with committee members Janis and Leffler spearheading that subcommittee. Number four, public safety, communications, and disaster prep with committee members Leffler and Bracuda spearheading that subcommittee. Number five, technology for public safety entities with committee members Walsh and Bracuda spearheading that subcommittee. And number six, legislation that pertains to public safety matters with committee member Walsh spearheading that subcommittee.
Good job.
But what? Somebody's got to second it.
I second the motion.
You got to call for the vote.
Yeah, they moved in second of this work plan assignment for coming up for consideration at the next meeting.
Nick, I've already seconded the motion.
Right. So, but I'm just kind of restating what the thing is. So, well, we're going to call for a vote here. Vice Chair Janis.
Aye.
Okay. Committee Member Gary Walsh.
Aye. Yes.
Committee Member Rick Loeffler.
Aye.
And it's an aye for me. So there's 4 and 0. So, Mr. Atanian, you have direction.
Okay, I recommend that the committee, at this point, continue on to item B, an unfinished business, nomination and selection of 2 committee members to serve on the Joint Homeless Subcommittee of the Human Affairs Committee, and then return back to item 8A, new business, determination of the next Public Safety Committee special meeting date and time.
Right.
I'd like to nominate Rick Loeffler and Gary Walsh for the positions.
I second that. All right, we'll have a roll call on that. Vice Chair Janis.
Aye.
Committeeman Gary Walsh.
Aye. Yes.
Good. Committee Member Rick Loeffler.
Aye.
And I agree also. That's an aye. 4 and 0. Now we're returning back to date time for our next meeting. You got your calendars available. I think if we can do this, I'd like to do it sooner than later. And I had a suggestion with our staff member that if we wanted to meet on Thursday again, September 3rd, which is 3 weeks from now, would be available. How you guys feel about that?
What date is that?
September 3rd.
And the committee could meet at pretty much any time. There's no other meeting scheduled for that day. The only thing that was scheduled has been canceled, so it's up to this committee's discretion. ideally something between 1 p.m. Start time of between 1 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. would be ideal for staff, but I'll leave that up to the committees.
Yeah, because the city's dark the next day, and our staff member needs to wrap up things and get it together rather than leaving it on his desk for all weekend. So that's a consideration there. So well, we can do it in the morning too.
Yeah, it'd be hard for me in the morning. 3 o'clock
Okay.
is good for me.
Not a problem.
I have one conflict on that day.
Wait a minute. Let's go for committee member Walsh.
I have one conflict on that day. I'm flying for a couple hours in the morning. I am relatively sure that I will have Wi-Fi later that day, but I can't guarantee that.
Got it. Okay. Committee member Leffler.
I mean, that's fine with me. I mean, any time that day is good for me. If Gary's going to have a problem with that day or a question with that day, you think we should move it back a day to Wednesday if we can? Or I mean, I hate to commit to a time when Gary's already got a possible conflict.
Right. That's what we're hashing out right now. So
I'm wide open on Wednesday.
anybody have a conflict on Wednesday? Chief, how about you?
He's getting paid. He'll be here.
On Wednesday, September 2nd, there is a planning commission meeting that meets at 6 p.m. that day. So our meeting would probably need to start no later than 1:30 p.m. or 2 p.m.
Got it.
I can make 2 p.m. happen, but I'm wondering, we got a lot of work to do between now and then.
We do.
So you want to put it on after Labor Day on the 8th maybe or something like that?
What I'm considering is another meeting later in a couple of weeks after that, so we can finalize this stuff.
I agree with that, but I'm just not sure how much work it's going to take for us to get work plans on all these.
I think, and Adam can correct me if I'm wrong, I think even though we haven't got this agendized and whatever, that the two people that are assigned to this can still get together and talk about ideas in case it comes to fruition. We are prepared. Does that seem reasonable, Adam?
Yes, at this point, I'm under the assumption that based on the last action or the second to last action taken by the committee, that the groups identified for each of the topic areas are going to go and create drafts of the work plan. That's what's going to be discussed and reviewed at the next meeting. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't sound like we're that far away from completing a draft work plan to present to the council. So I don't see any issues with having the meeting on September 8th. That's a Tuesday. Anything before, any start time before 2:30 p.m. should work that day. We could make Wednesday work, or that Thursday could work as well.
Yeah, I'm in on either of them.
I am too.
I think Wednesday's optimal because I won't have a conflict at all. So.
Okay, Wednesday, and that's the 7th then?
Morning. Is Eric still here?
2nd or the 9th?
The 9th.
Either one, 2nd or 9th works for me.
Okay, so Wednesday is the 9th. Somebody's got a calendar?
Wednesday,
yes.
The 9th, and the 2nd.
Yeah, Wednesday the 9th. That meeting, would we be able to start that meeting at... There's a meeting at 4 p.m. that day. So we would ideally want to start... If we started at 1, we would have to wrap the meeting up by 3 p.m. 3:30 at the dead latest.
Which day are we talking about?
Wednesday, September 9th.
Okay, but the second, what happened on the 2nd? And
the 2nd,
we talked about pushing...
One at a time. Let's go for Adam. Adam, you speak.
Wednesday, the 2nd, the committee, I think, has discussed moving to be after either September 3rd or after,
Okay.
just to provide more time for everybody.
All right. Okay. Committeeman Loeffler, did you have a comment on that?
I'm just saying I'm available any of those times or those days. I can make it work. But I guess we should find out who has conflicts on those days and then work back from there.
Exactly. Okay. So, we looking? Everybody happy with the 9th, which is a Wednesday? Anybody
It works for me.
have a conflict? No conflict. How about the chief? Do you have a conflict?
No conflicts.
Hot diggity. Okay. The only conflict we got is how many other meetings that day, and what time?
There is a meeting at 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
that day. Yes. So,
So-
if we started the meeting at noon, that would give us plenty of time. If we started the meeting at 1 p.m., then we would essentially not be able to have a 3-hour meeting because we need at least half an hour between the end of our meeting and the beginning of the next.
All right. Anybody have a problem with noon on Wednesday the 9th?
I'll make it work.
I'll make it work.
All right.
Yeah, that can work. And I think Joe can catch a twilight rate anyways with that later at the golf course. So I think that would be his conflict. So.
I wish it was the golf course.
So do we need a motion for that, or is that just a staff thing?
Yes, you're going to need to make a motion that is the next date of this Public Safety Committee meeting. And then I believe the only thing that's left on there's some reports. The committee will then vote again at the adjournment to agree to adjourn the meeting, and you'll need to read that new day and time into the record at that point in the meeting as well.
Okay. Let's see. September 9th at noon. Got it. Okay. All right. Who wants to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we set the next public safety committee meeting on Wednesday, September 9th at noon.
Any second? I'll second it just for the heck of it. Roll call. Vice Chair Janice. Aye. Committee Member Walsh.
Yes.
Committee Member Loeffler.
Aye.
And it's good for me, and the chief, I guess it's good for him too.
Good for me.
We're all there. Good there. Okay. Now, are we down to 10 now? Item 10.
Yes, Chair, we are.
Okay. So we're looking at reports of committee members and staff. Police Services, Chief Manhard, do you have anything to report for us?
No, I don't.
Yes. Okay. The committee chair, being myself, I want to thank everybody for a productive meeting. I was wondering how we do a work session too, and we just completed one. Oh, by the way, guys. I also want to thank Ed and his team for allowing us to work along with CIDM and seeing the activities of the Sheriff's Department most enlightening. I hadn't been in a patrol car in decades, and so it, I'm going, hey, what's this funny little box here? It's mobile digital and it's worn out. It needs to be a brand new one. Okay. And license plate readers and all sorts of things. And then the homeless thing is, I was just amazed with the number of homeless that are accounted for in this community. And like I said, the expertise and the value that we have, the unsung heroes of the Sheriff's Department, I can't say enough. It's really was a wonderful experience, and these guys have our community's best interest. That concludes my comments at this point. So, committee members, anybody want to jump in on this? Raise your hand and I'll recognize
Did
you.
what you said about the Sheriff's Department. I was very impressed. Thanks a lot.
Got it, good.
I agree also. Same.
Good?
Again, thanks for the hard work. I think Adam, who sits through a lot of these, probably will attest to the fact that we did get a lot accomplished for a startup committee. I think we have some good objectives, and we can also see this is going to be a lot of work. If anybody just signed up for this to meet once a month and sit around, you signed up for the wrong job. And I don't think any of us did that. I think we really want to make an impact on public safety. And I also don't want to let Chief Manhart off the hook here. I know he's gotten off on this meeting, just putting in a little bit here and there, but I personally am going to be in communication with him, as I have been in the past, to get his insight and help on a lot of these issues. And so I just got to tell him he can't go anywhere for at least a couple of years now. Sorry. So.
Any other comments? I would like to, I was remiss on one of my comments was to send my accommodations to our staff member, Adam Matanian. He's bearing with us. It's all new, and he's been very receptive to questions, and thank you so much for spending your days with us. It'll be a hell of a ride, let me tell you.
Here, here.
That's it. Okay, city staff, your turn.
All right. Well, I just wanted to thank everybody for sticking with this as we kind of muddled through the process. This is the first time I've been involved in helping form a committee, and so there's a greater learning curve here than just simply facilitating meetings that have already been established. I do want to say that I believe we have most of the issues, the technological issues, worked out, but I do know that there are still some lingering issues. So if there's anything going on with that, I'm going to re-email everybody. Actually, no, I'm not going to re-email everybody. I have everybody's phone numbers. I'm going to contact everybody in the next day or so and just provide my contact information so that everybody has it outside of the city email system, so that if there's any issues that come up, you can contact me at any time. But otherwise, I just want to say thank you to everybody. This is really a pleasure working with you, and I look forward to the next year.
Super. Really appreciate it. Any other words for the cause before we adjourn? Okay, adjourn to the special meeting of the Public Safety Committee will be held September 9th at noon, 2020, in the council chambers. Actually, it'll be a Zoom meeting. So that's
Second.
Yeah. No, let's see. Vice Chair Janice.
Hi.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, and Mr. Loeffler.
Hi.
I got it. Chief, you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with
That
that.
makes it unanimous. I like it. Okay, thank you so much, and we got some stuff to do, and it'll be fun.
Stay safe.
All right.